What's up, you guys? We got a good one here. UFC 315 is taking place up in Montreal, Canada. And I want your guys' thoughts right off the rip. Do any of you guys have this ranked as the #1 card of the year thus far? All right. And again, when we're talking about these cards, we're talking about on paper, right? Shout out to Anthony Smith. We're talking about on paper, not actually how they took place and how eventful the fights were. But I'm just talking about from the name value. Does anyone have this as the most stacked card of the year? We're going to be keeping up with that throughout the year. I have UFC 314 still ranked as #1. And I think I have UFC 313 probably ahead of this, although I do have it close. But the Magomed Ankalaev versus Alex Pereira fight, that was a fight I was looking forward to for a long time. So that kind of had me lean that way. But I really like this card. Of course, 2 championship bouts topping it off. In the main event, we have Belal Muhammad taking on Jack Della Maddalena. Both fighters enter that match on massive winning streaks. Jack Della is on like a 15-fight winning streak. He's undefeated since coming over to the UFC. If you want to include the Dana White's Contender Series bout, I think it's like 8 in a row. And we know that he is one of the most exciting fighters in the fight game. He has some of the most high-level boxing and overall striking skills that we're witnessing right now. All right, so we're all going to be pumped anytime Jack Della steps in the octagon. And then when you're talking Muhammad, okay, this is a fighter that we've all joked about for years, and he kind of has that whole label as being a boring fighter, not really a fight finisher. Okay, but that's kind of changed. And specifically after he did what he did to Sean Brady, when you look at that fight in retrospect, I mean, he is elite. He's the champion. Okay, he just went out there and mauled Leon Edwards. And now, love him or hate him, you're going to be somewhat pumped to watch him fight, because if you don't like him, you want to see him be dethroned. And you just like watching high-level action, right? Don't you? So, I mean, that's a solid matchup there. I would have liked to see them be facing Shavkat, but that's a fight we'll probably see down the line. And let me just preview this division really quickly, guys, because this division is just so damn stacked. We already mentioned Sean Brady. Sean Brady, since losing to Muhammad, he's now on a 3-fight winning streak. He just mauled Leon Edwards as well. I'm very excited to see what's next for Brady. You got to mention Ian Gary. Ian Gary taking his last 2 fights on short notice, and the Shavkat fight, even though he dropped that, it was very competitive. And even though he got hurt massively in the 5th round against Pratis, I mean, come on, how can you guys not acknowledge how elite he is? And you guys know I've never even been the biggest fan of Ian Gary's. I had an official play in him. Obviously, I'm happy with him. I don't like his personality. I don't really like his vibes. You guys kind of know how I feel about that. And if you're new here, he just kind of is not my type of guy. But I mean, when you're talking about fighting skills, elite. And I cannot wait to see what's next for him. Shavkat, still undefeated. I mean, these are just massive chess pieces that the UFC has to move around. And we'll also mention Joaquin Buckley, who's on a massive winning streak as well, since dropping down in weight. He's now on what? A 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fight winning streak, and he'll be taking on Kamaru Usman, the former champion. So, I mean, that's what you have going on in this division. All right, so I'm very pumped for the main event, and I'm pumped to see what will follow that. And I'll just quickly talk about the co-main event, Valentina Shevchenko and Manon Fiorot. That's a great matchup there. And when you just take a look at the fight that's under it, Alexa Grasso's taking on Natalia Silva. You guys know I'm very high on Silva. She's put money in our pockets, but she's just also such a fun fighter to watch. I mean, elite striking, and her ceiling is extremely high. Her ceiling is being a champion. And if she goes out there and defeats the former champion Alexa Grasso, I mean, I guess she's going to be next to fight for the belt, isn't she? I mean, I would say so. You have Macy Barber taking on Erin Blanchfield. Barber's on a hell of a win streak, even though we know she did really lose one of those fights. But that's what you have going on there. And I'm hoping that Silva would get the next title shot if she goes out here and really shines like she's been shining. Other than that, just you got a legend like Jose Aldo on the card, taking the home countryman Zahabi, of course, the brother of Firas, Aiemann Zahabi. Joel Alvarez is an absolute stud. He's taking on BSD, Saint-Denis. That's going to be a great fight. Saint-Denis has been on a little bit of a losing skid, but he's a warrior. And then the prelims, they're not bad. They're exciting fights. All right, guys? So I'm pumped up. We're going to jump right into it. If you guys are new here to the channel, please subscribe. If everybody could smash that like button. We're going to start with the first fight, work our way up towards the top. We're breaking down the odds for each fight. I'm going to tell you guys how I see these matchups going. All right, we're gonna tell you what round the finishes are gonna happen, or we'll say if we're gonna go to a decision and all that. Of course, if anybody wants my official targets for this card, the bets that I am targeting, you guys can reach out to me, shoot me an email or DM me on Instagram, and I can give you further details there. And I also have that offer, as always. If you sign up through my referral link to Bovada, I will give you my entire slate for this card. Okay, guys, I think that's about it. You guys know the routine by now if you've been around, but I'm pumped up. Let's talk some fights.
The teller.
We'll kick this card off in the featherweight division, and that's important to note because Willie Cat Daniel Santos is coming up in weight to take on Jeong Lee. Santos has fought his career at 135, and I do expect him to be a little undersized here. That's an important aspect of this fight. You also note, technically Santos is taking this fight on short notice, but if you remember, he was supposed to be fighting Davy Grant on that April 5th fight card, which took place not that long ago. I think that Willie Cat will still be in fighting shape. As far as the new matchups for each fighter, nothing changes too much, right? Jeong Lee was training for Gavin Tucker, who is similar to Santos in some ways. They kind of favor their striking. Maybe you could say Santos is a little bit more of a jiu-jitsu threat as he is a black belt there. Santos was training for Davy Grant. There's a lot of similarities between Davy Grant and Lee. Fighters that kind of favor their striking, but can do a little bit of it all to an extent. All right, so I don't see anything too much going on there. Now, of course, Willie Cat fights at a team shoot box, and it's so apparent when you watch his fights, right? And I know that's kind of a cliche statement. It tends to be said about a lot of fighters that fight out of that camp. But I would actually say, out of every different fight team that you could think of, I would say that fight team, the fighters fight so similarly when you watch them in the cage. I would say more so than any other major fight team, right? You think about some of the other big camps, and maybe you see some similarities, but fighters will kind of vary and have their own type of styles. I mean, they run a tight ship over there. I really believe that, because when you watch their striking and their overall type of tactic that they bring to the cage, it's so reminiscent to each and every other team member. Now, I'll let you know, I'm not completely sold on Santos. If you take a look at the work that he's done, specifically since joining the UFC, he was kind of outmatched in his debut against Julio Arce, right? He was outstruck 127 to 49 on total strikes, okay? If you run the numbers back on that fight, and I know he was much younger back then, and Arce's not a bad fighter, but he was outmatched in that fight. The John Castaneda fight, you guys know I'm not the highest on Castaneda. I just faded him in his last fight. We cashed on that Gutierrez play. Yeah, he did get the knockout on Castaneda, but he was hurt badly before coming back and getting his own knockout. He was almost knocked out there, right? Showing some defensive flaws, being a little over aggressive, a little flat footed. Okay, he pressures, he's a little flat footed, and I think that could be a problem for him here, because Jeong Lee, I think he'll have better movement. I think he'll be a little bit more active if the fight plays out for the long haul. Now, that's a big if. I'll just also mention his last fight that he had was about like a year and 8 months ago against a one-dimensional Johnny Munoz. When you're talking Jeong Lee, he's coming off a brutal knockout loss against Haider Emil, who you guys know, Emil's my boy. He just keeps coming in as a dog, and he keeps showing up. And listen, Lee got clipped. I think that he was pretty much out of it from the moment that first big shot landed. You saw the heart in him. He stood there. He was trying to get his wits and throw something back. But I mean, he just got hit with like a 50-punch combo. And, you know, that fight took place about 9 months ago. He's had some time to rest up. I think that fight had to have been burning under him for this fight camp. So I expect to see a fiery Lee coming into this fight. I thought he looked very good in the two prior fights against Blake Bilder and Yiza. Maybe you're not so high in those fighters, but still, he looked really good. He outclassed Bilder. He outclassed him everywhere that fight went and just styled on him there. So I think that showed some of his potential. All right, I can see either fighter getting knocked out. I expect this to be a barn burner. I think they're going to clash right off the rip. I think Santos is going to pressure. Lee will meet him there. Okay, he might circle around a little bit more so, but he'll look to knock you out as well. But what I like more so backing Lee is, first off, the size advantage that he has. He has a 6.5 reach advantage. He's the natural featherweight fighter. But also, if this fight does go to a decision, I favor it going his way a little bit more so. I think he can out-volume and be a little bit more tricky with his striking, as Santos will be more flat-footed, looking for those power strikes. I'm going to go with the dog here. We're going to get over to the line here. I'm going to take the larger Lee, who I've been somewhat impressed with in the past. I mean, he has a lot more to prove, but I like some of the things I've seen from him. I'm going to say he bounces back with the W here. Santos opened up as a -175. He's now -200. And that's another reason why definitely had to side with Lee here. I think the line's off. This is a fight that should be much closer. Again, don't be shocked if Santos goes out there and gets a knockout over Lee, who was just damaged in his last fight. Don't be shocked, but I wouldn't be chalking up minus 200 on that. I like the plus 150 much better on Lee. I like those dog odds. Who he opened up as a plus 135, and that's a line maybe you want to monitor. Maybe we continue to see action coming in on Willie Cat, and I would love to grab Lee somewhere up as like a plus 180. That would be a real gift as far as I'm concerned, but we'll see how the fight takes place. Give me Jeong Lee to win a decision. This should be a fun one. In the light heavyweight division, Modestas Bukauskas taking on Cutelaba. Both of these fighters have definitely had up and down type of performances throughout their careers. Cutelaba, I would say he's a little bit more flaky, right? I mean, he can go out there and he can exploit a more one-dimensional, unproven fighter like Erslan. He'll take that damage early on. He can weather the storm, and then he can get that submission. Yeah, he can go out and do that. I don't see him being able to pull something like that off here against Bukauskas. Bukauskas has a well-rounded skill set. I think that this will be a little bit more of a fight. All right, so there's going to be an opportunity for Cutelaba to be a little bit exposed here, like he has when he took on Felipe Lins, or when he got knocked out in the second round against Kennedy and Shaku, submitted by Johnny Walker, submitted by Ryan Spann. I mean, there's just been a lot of questionable performances. I don't want to say he's one-dimensional, but he definitely relies on his wrestling, and he likes to hang on opponents and push them up against the cage and kind of drag the fight out. But he also will throw heavy strikes, specifically early on too. So, I mean, if you're not on your P's and Q's, yeah, he can knock you out. But I just kind of question him as the fight progresses. I just feel like Modestas will have more to offer as this turns into a real fight. I mean, you look at that match he just had against Marcin Prachnio. That fight was crazy. Okay, if you guys didn't catch that one, if you don't remember it, go run the tape back on that. That fight was crazy. And yeah, he was hurt in that fight, and he did make some mistakes, and potentially Cutelaba can capitalize on him making some of those mistakes in this matchup. But you know that the Baltic Gladiator is going to look to push through them. He's going to look to land his own damage even after taking damage. And I just think that he's going to dig a little bit deeper as this fight progresses. And I think he could even find a finish potentially. He's coming off. He also has shown that he can go out there and hurt you early on, right? Went out there and destroyed Rafael Sequeira in that last match. Of course, an unproven fighter, but still. And I just like the mammoth Bukauskas to get his hand raised. Now, the real question I have to answer here is, how does he do it? All right. And I've been a little bit back and forth because we've seen Cutelaba subbed quite a bit when he's taken L's. But Bukauskas is more of a knockout artist, but he also just had that late sub against Prachnio. I mean, I see the finish coming, but I'm torn on how it could happen because I wouldn't be shocked if Bukauskas hurts Cutelaba and Cutelaba goes down to the mat and kind of looks for a way out. Maybe we see Bukauskas cinch something up, squeeze something tight, and we see a tap from Cutelaba. But I could also see him just kind of getting bombarded with strikes and finished up. I like Bukauskas to get a finish here. And I don't know, man. Knockout or sub, it could come either way, but I'm calling the finish. How about that? I think that's enough. I'm calling a third round finish for Bukauskas. And right now, technically, Bukauskas is the underdog, if you will. I mean, we're not really going there. I mean, this is a pick'em fight. It's a minus 105 from what I'm looking at right now. There's a minuscule lean on Cutelaba's way. Pick your poison. I like Bukauskas. And just so nobody gets mad at me, officially, we will call a TKO on that finish. Navajo Stirling gets back in there. He's taking on Aiemann Erslan, who comes in off a lackluster UFC debut against Cutelaba. We were just talking about him. But Stirling, he's now 6-0 since coming over to MMA. We know he has a striking background, a kickboxing background, fights at a Team City Kickboxing. We've seen them replicate this formula so many times, right? Taking a stud kickboxer, bringing him over to the MMA side of things and having a ton of success. You think about Israel Adesanya, Carlos Olberg, right? Stirling has a very similar type of fighting style. You're going to see him working the leg kicks. He's very measured with his overall striking and how he looks to finish you up. He'll start to pick you apart, and then he'll land a big strike on you. Out of 6 of his victories, 4 of them come by way of knockout. How about that Dana White's Contender Series victory that he had over somewhat of a dangerous knockout artist in his own right in Philip Latu. Okay, that was an explosive KO there in the second round. He was successful in his UFC debut against George Tokos. But that's a fight that we got to brush upon here for a second. Now, he did win a unanimous decision, 30-27 on all 3 judges' scorecards. He outstruck him 99-34 in total strikes, but he was taken down 33% of the time that Tokos shot at him. And Tokos is not really a fighter that I hold in that high regard. Okay, so he had 3 of 9 takedowns on Stirling. The reason why I want to talk about that is because I believe with a raw talent and a fighter that has a lot of potential like Stirling, if we do see him have a setback as he looks to make a run in this division, it will be when a fighter can kind of look to expose him there. All right. And because if Tokos was able to get him down and control him for 3 minutes and 36 seconds, I think if there's a fighter that has legitimate grappling, there is that threat. Now, is Erslan that fighter? I don't really think so. He doesn't typically go that route. Now, he did control Cutelaba for 5 minutes and 19 seconds. He was 1 of 2 on his own takedowns in that sloppy, boring fight. In his debut, he was outstruck 80-63 against Cutelaba. When you're talking to Erslan, though, he is a fighter that looks to use his boxing skills, okay? Out of 14 of his victories, 9 of them have come by way of KO. Fighting outside of the UFC, fighting over in like KSW. I mean, this is a dude that packs a punch. He has that very technical and typical kickboxing stance, a very tight guard, solid boxing skills. But I think that he's going to be a little bit too slow here for him to land on Stirling convincingly enough. Stirling's going to have that size advantage. I think that Stirling is a much more dynamic striker. If we see a knockout, I think it comes by way of Stirling. If the fight goes to the judges' scorecards, Stirling's going to be outlanding Erslan. I don't know. I have question marks in regards to Erslan's game. And now I just want to bring up Bogdan Guskov, right? He was a fighter that had a lot of success knocking dudes out outside of the UFC before coming in, had not the best debut, and then we saw him start to pick it up as time progressed with him. I don't think it's likely, but maybe Erslan can replicate something similarly to that. Okay, where you kind of just completely overlook him. You have a fighter that engages him in a striking type match, and then you see those knockouts. They do come into the octagon eventually, right? A tough debut, maybe some octagon jitters, whatever you want to call it. Maybe the drug testing's different. I don't know. I don't know. But I don't expect that to be the case. I like Stirling here. I think this dude's a beast. The more he continues to round out his game, remember he's only 27 years old. All right, so as time progresses, this is going to be a fighter that's a more fine-tuned machine, right? He already has the striking. He just needs to keep fights on the feet where he can be a threat to anybody in this division. And you guys know where I'm going with the pick. I am taking Stirling to get the job done. Can he get a knockout here? I mean, he can knock out anybody. Erslan, out of his 4 losses, he's only been KO'd once, and it was his most recent loss before joining the UFC, and it was a brutal one. You could pull it up on YouTube. It took place over in KSW. Rafael Radtke caught him in the first round, the Turkish fighter there, and he kind of crumbled him. And I think that we could definitely see Stirling do something similarly to that in a fight that should take place on the feet. These guys should be going at it. Give me Stirling to land a middle of the fight KO and get his hand raised once again. And this will be a fighter that we will be talking about quite a bit moving forward. Now, he's a minus 260 currently. He opened up as a minus 250. I think that line is just fine. It's a heavy line, but I feel pretty confident Stirling gets the job done, and I could easily see him creeping up into the minus 300 range easily. I expect that to be the case. In fact, I think he'll probably settle in like a minus 350 by the time the fight takes place. People are going to remember what he's all about. They're going to be in on the hype train here, and I think it's warranted. Now, guys, take a look at this video because I think that this is something really to look into as we dive into this matchup. Initially, this was a pick that was going to be tough for me. As Jéssica Andrade, you guys know, that's my old lady there, man. I've picked her many of times to win fights where she was an underdog. Not only has she came through for me, but she's a fight finisher. She's one of my, I would say that she is one of my favorite women fighters of all time in the UFC. I like her style, man. She goes out there, she looks to take you out. And you take a look at her here. Now, this is about a month out from when the fight's taking place, but she's carrying a lot of excess weight. And I have a problem with that because Jasmine is a fighter that really pushes the pace. And I think she has great cardio. She's going to have a size advantage here. And if Andrade doesn't get an early KO, I think she's going to be in real trouble. I mean, I'm cutting right to the chase here. Another aspect of this fight I want you guys to look into is Jasmine is 36 years old. Andrade is just 33 years old. But you take a look at the mileage, you take a look at the amount of fights that they've had. You understand that Jéssica has already reached the pinnacle of the sport. So it doesn't really surprise me too much that she kind of looks the way that she does. I think that the hunger isn't there nearly as much as a fighter like Jasmine, who's still looking to do huge things in the sport. And you could argue that she's the face of Canadian mixed martial arts right now, as crazy as that sounds. But I mean, you could argue that. And this is a girl that is now on a 4-fight winning streak. She went out there and dominated Mayra Bueno Silva. If you take a look at the numbers there, went out there, outstruck her 164-41, controlled her for 7 minutes and 11 seconds, 3 of 5 on her takedowns. She pushed the pace. She could easily do that to Andrade here. Okay, it's really going to come down to, in my opinion, if Andrade can land an early KO. Now, if Andrade looks to suddenly be in great shape on the scales, she's dangerous from the moment the bell rings to the final bell. And we've seen, I mean, I have to note, we've seen Jasmine struggle defensively with her striking. So that's a little bit of a problem here for Jasmine. That's something that should be concerning for you if you're backing her, or if you're part of the Jasmine team. She needs to avoid that big strike, because we've seen her take so much damage. Her last loss was against Tracy Cortez, when she's not able to just go out there and run through an opponent by pushing the pace and using her grappling. She does get landed on a bit. And again, in Andrade's case, you're not just getting landed on. You could potentially have your nose broken. You could be bloodied up, and the fight could just go a crazy route. But at the end of the day, like I said, this ended up being a fight that was going to be tough for me to make a decision to where I'm sitting here now. And I actually have a lot of confidence that Jasmine is going to have success in this match. She'll have the crowd behind her if the fight plays out somewhat close. You never know what you're getting from the judges these days, but I still will always stick to, if a fight plays out closely, you definitely have to notch a little bit of an advantage for the hometown fighter. I mean, you just have to do that. And I think that Jasmine is going to go out here and she's going to get a decision victory. As we scroll over to take a look at what the current line is, yeah, I got Jasmine winning a decision. I don't see her submitting Andrade here. She's going to grind her out. She opened up as a -290. She's now -285. That's what we're looking at right now. So she's a big-time favorite. She's just under a 3-1 favorite. And this is a tough one as far as where do I see the value. I hope that line continues to dip. I would love to grab Jasmine as like a -240. And it's possible. If people don't find that clip of Jéssica and they think that you're getting like a vintage Jéssica, I could see people slamming action on her. I think that people will see value as they could see her potentially landing big strikes with her hands and just being the better overall striker, being game, having a lot of experience behind her. And I could see that line dipping. We'll see how that goes. But even if this line were to stay stagnant, I still would rather be on Jasmine's side right now. I mean, that's crazy. I'm telling you guys, I was literally on the fence of going with Jéssica. I don't like what I'm seeing from her. I just don't like what I'm seeing. This one right here, this is going to be one of the more fiery fights on the card. Mikey Malott representing Canada. He's going to have the crowd going crazy. He's taking on Charlie Radtke, who will bring in the USA flag with him. He'll be representing USA, so you'll kind of have a little bit of that clash going on. But even besides that, Radtke just brings in those combative and enemy type of vibes regardless, even if you take the countries out of it. I mean, Charlie Radtke will look to stir things up with DC on the mic after the fight. I love his post-fight speeches. He's a wild dude. And these fighters have been going back and forth already on IG already. So I've been in the mix of it in the comment section, stirring things up, getting some likes there by Radtke. But this fight's going to be a good one here, okay? Mikey Malott, if he didn't take that L to Neil Magny, which he was well ahead going into the third round. He made a mistake there. If he didn't take that L, this is a fighter that would have had a huge opportunity right now. Okay, but because he made that mistake, now he's fighting a fighter like Radtke, which no disrespect towards Radtke's way. I mean, he's had some success since coming over to the UFC, but he's not a fighter that's on that level. Okay, you look at both of his victories. Okay, he had a lot of success using his boxing skills, right? He favors landing big shots with his hands. He's technical there. We saw him run through Matthew Semmelsberger in the first round, took him just 51 seconds. We saw him run through Gilbert Urbina as well, okay? In his debut, he fought a completely different fight. Took on Blood Diamond, who had that kickboxing background coming out of Team City Kickboxing, and he just pushed the pace using his grappling. He has some wrestling abilities, but I don't really expect him to be able to get the better of Malott there. Malott's very well-rounded. I think this is going to be a fight where these guys are going to go at it and on the feet, and whoever has more success implementing their striking is going to be the fighter that's going to prevail here. If this fight goes to a decision, I think that it favors Malott. I think we'll see a little bit more volume from him, and I think we'll see him just be a little bit more of a dynamic striker, right? This is a fighter that was handling the coaching, the striking coaching over at Team Alpha Male. We see him switch stances a little bit. He'll use kicks in his game. I think that he could have a lot of success there, but he will be in danger throughout that type of fight. He will be in danger. Radtke will look to press, and it only takes one to shake things up, as we saw in the Magny fight. And also, if you go back to his first ever loss as a pro, he got knocked out by Hakeem Dawodu, who the UFC, I don't know what's going on. I didn't dive too much into it, but it looks like the UFC's kind of pushed him to the side, because you would think he'd be on a card like this. I know he took an L or two, and he got put on the back burner there, but he is a powerful and dangerous striker. He finished Malott in the first round, just to point that out. You do have to like the way that Malott bounced back after the Magny loss and just had a victory over Trevin Giles. Giles, a decent type of fighter. You can compare him to a fighter like Radtke in some ways. Malott will have the reach advantage here. He'll have almost a 4-inch reach advantage. He's taller. He's more lengthy. Radtke is a little bit compact, but I like Malott here. Okay, this was a fight that I was potentially looking at to back Radtke. I like the boxing skills that he possesses, but I don't see him landing that big punch. I think it's a little bit more unlikely to happen. And then in that case, Malott will be the fighter that will be out-voluming him. The crowd will be rooting him on, and we should expect to see Malott get his hand raised. I'm going to say he wins a decision, but I mean, I completely glossed over what Pratis did to Radtke, but you understand how dangerous Pratis is. But I mean, Radtke, once you hit him with a couple big strikes, it seems like he loses a little bit of his mojo. So that's something to keep an eye on too. Maybe if Malott pushes the pace, lands some big strikes, maybe we see Radtke a little bit more indecisive and not as confident. But at the end of the day, give me Mike Malott to win this fight. He's a -215. I don't see a ton of value on that line. I like the value more so on the underdog here. As I stated, I was a little bit back and forth with where I was going to go here. You don't want to completely overlook Radtke. He could land a big shot, and it's not out of the realm he could win a decision. I don't favor that to be the case. We'll see. But, I mean, he's a tough dude. So value on Radtke, in my opinion. We'll see which way this line goes. Decision victory for Malott. We got a middleweight clash here between Marc-André Barriault and Bruno Silva. This should be good, boys. I'm telling you guys right now. Bruno Silva technically is on a 4-fight losing skid, but we know the Chris Weidman fight was a strange one. A lot of eye pokes going on. It was a technical decision. That was a weird one there. Besides that, though, he's not coming in off the most impressive performance, as he took an L to Ismail Nurdiov in his UFC return fight, the Austrian Wonder Boy there. And I really didn't like how Silva looked. And, I highlight that fight because the energy that Silva brings into this fight, the will to get a W here, is going to play a major factor. If he comes in very motivated, I think that this is a solid matchup for him. But that's the question mark that we're looking at here. Marc-André Barriault is going to be very motivated to go out there and get a victory in his home country. But take a look at the damage that he's been taking inside the octagon. Okay, if you guys want to run back the tape on that Dustin Stoltzfus loss that he comes in off of, that was brutal. Absolutely brutal. He took 2 follow-up shots that weren't even necessary, okay? And he got smashed down on the mat, so you wonder how that brain's going to hold up if these fighters start to slug it out. He got finished by Joseph Pfeiffer before that. The fight before that, things were actually looking pretty good. He went to a split decision with Chris Curtis. He was coming into that fight on a 2-fight winning streak. You would have to go back to 2022 to see him last knocked out. That was that Chidi Njokuani KO. And those were his 3 KO losses, all taking place in the UFC. And the reason why I'm kind of highlighting that, because I think it's very likely that Bruno Silva is going to shut his lights out. If this fight has a high pace to it, And like I said, if Silva's motivated here, I think that Silva is going to clip him with a shot and put him out. Now, if Marc-André Barriault goes out there and he looks to just get his hand raised and slows the pace down in this fight and clinches a lot and mixes in some grappling, this is a fight that he could win for sure. But I don't have a lot of faith in that being the case. The crowd's going to be going crazy. I think that he's going to do what he typically does, which is go out there and look to put a show on. That's what he does. And as he looks to do that, I think that he's going to run into the power of Silva. You take a look at the Brad Tavares KO that he had back in 2023. That was his last UFC victory. Tavares has not been an easy fighter to put out throughout his career. He knocked out Jordan Wright in the first round, knocked out Andrew Sanchez in the third, knocked out Wellington Turman in the first. I mean, there's a lot of KOs we could talk about, even dating back to 2018, where he knocked out one of my favorite fighters from back in the day, Alexander Shlemenko, an OG of the fight game. I mean, Bruno Silva's been doing that for a long time, and I actually do believe that he's coming into this fight motivated. Coming in off the losing streak, you check him out on IG. Looks to be in good shape, surrounding himself with legends of the game, getting in work with Fabricio Verdum and all that. And let me just also mention and talk about the 4-fight losing skid. Some high-level fighters mixed in too. I mean, Sharmagomedov, Brendan Allen. But I want to highlight the Alex Pereira fight. That was a fight at the time. I mean, he was the first real fighter to give Alex a run for his money, you know, since Alex came in and has had all that success. So that was a good fight for him. And if that type of Silva shows up, I think that not only does he get his hand raised, but like I said, I think that finish is just going to come here. I really believe that Marc-André Barriault, I like to say the whole name. Remember, I used to call him Marc-André Barriault, but I know now I got that nice French accent on it, Marc-André Barriault. And this dude likes to engage. He likes to put on a show. The Stoltzfus knockout, he was on his back, getting out grappled before the knockout happened. He jumped back up to his feet. He reversed position and he looked to throw down. He put himself in that position by engaging and looking to find his own KO. All right. So I think that we might see something similar to that, where he looks to get his own KO and he gets countered. In fact, that's what I'm going to say. That's exactly what I'm going to say happens. I'm going to say that he's hunting for his own finish and Silva's going to counter him with a knockout. And I'm going to say that it happens early on. So Marc-André Barriault is the favorite. He is a minus 150 favorite right now. The comeback on Bruno Silva is at plus 130. I've seen him as high as a plus 150. I think the value's on the dog here. I think that Bruno Silva is going to land a first round knockout. Calling another finish here, boys. Hey, you guys, thanks for tuning in to the show. I appreciate you greatly. Don't forget, if you want to work with me for my official targets for this card, you guys can reach out to me. I'll give you further information there. And I have that offer. If you're looking to sign up to a new book, I will give you guys this entire slate for free if you sign up through my link. And while you're at it, if you guys can go catch me on my social media, I've been doing the little skits over there. That's a little new thing I'm working on. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go check out my IG. That's going to be something I'm going to be doing weekly. I'm doing little comedy type skits, and you guys will see what I'm talking about. But go follow me on IG at MMA Fortune Teller. Back to the show. We got the 2-time Ultimate Fighter winner in Brad Katona. He should have the crowd behind him, being that he's Canadian, but I just don't know who could root this guy on. If you caught him on the Ultimate Fighter, like I said, he was on there twice, and his personality is a little something else. Not really my favorite type of guy, and his fighting style is not really my favorite type of fighting style. He takes on Bekzat Almakhan, the Kazakh fighter. We know Kazakhstan has really started to push talent into the UFC, and we saw Bekzat take a short notice fight against the very high level Umar Nurmagomedov, and he actually dropped Umar in that fight. If you guys remember, after that occurred, Umar dominated with the grappling, and I think that it's an interesting aspect to this fight because we know Katona really likes to use his grappling. It's hard to judge when you get dominated like that by a fighter like Umar, because is it just based off the fact that Umar is so dominant, or are there some real holes in Almakhan's game, as he was controlled for almost 12 minutes, 11 minutes and 26 seconds. He was taken down 5 times on 5 attempts. I am chalking it up more to Umar just being very dominant, Almakhan being very young, taking that fight on short notice. I don't think that he's necessarily completely in over his head there. I'm actually going to put a little bit more faith in him being more polished there and being able to create some space and not let Katona just completely control him there. But that's something that you really have to pay attention to. As far as striking goes and fighter landing damage, I do think that it's Almakhan that will be the fighter looking to land damage and showcase his striking here. Katona is just 33 years old, which he's not completely over the hump, and he only has 18 professional fights. He's been around the block for a long time, but I would say we've seen a pretty drastic decline in his game, or I would say that we never really saw him take his game to the next level. He never continued to evolve as you think of the winning streak that he was on, coming back and joining the UFC, winning the Ultimate Fighter and all that. And he hasn't really evolved. And you could also say Gene Matsumoto and Garrett Armfield are underrated fighters, as he lost decisions to both them, not really holding the Jesse Butler victory in high regard, a decision victory over him. We saw what Jim Miller did to him when he went out there and looked for a finish. He went out there and clubbed Jesse Butler in just 23 seconds. And Katona couldn't do anything similar to that. And I'm going to say that Almakhan keeps enough distance here to do damage and score points and to get a victory. I don't know if he's going to get a knockout. I know that he is a knockout artist, right? When you take a look at the 11 victories, I mean, he is a knockout artist for sure. But Katona's never been finished there. He's going to constantly look to close the distance, but I don't think the judges are going to like it. And I'm going to say that Almakhan gets his first ever UFC victory. And I'll also say he'll end up being a fighter that hangs around. I'm going to say that. I think that he has the skill set to hang around in the UFC. Well, time will tell. It starts with this fight. You don't want to start your UFC career going 0-2. He is currently a -170. I think that that's a little risky in the sense that Katona he kind of has that high fight IQ type of style. He will definitely look to test the grappling here, and he should. I don't know, actually. I really don't know if he'll have the crowd behind him, because the crowd may just not want to be rooting him on, as he's fighting a boring fighting style, which is what he does. The crowd may want to see action, so I don't even put too much stock into that, but you got to be careful that Katona just doesn't exploit the grappling and have a lot of success getting takedowns. France versus Spain at 155. This is ranked action. Number 13th ranked BSD is taking on number 15th ranked Joel Alvarez. Alvarez has been looking really good. Okay. And when you take into consideration now that the early losses he took in the UFC, or just his losses in general, are against high level competition, like Arman Sarukian and Damir Ismagulov. I know Ismagulov hasn't had a lot of success as of recently, but he's a good fighter. Okay. Besides that, all Alvarez has been doing is going out there and getting his hand raised. And we've seen the recent step up in competition on those W's, right? When you're talking about fighters like Thiago Moises, Elvis Brenner's a good fighter. Jakar Close is a fighter that you don't really want to overlook. And he went out there, styled on him, finished him up in the first round, hit him with that flying knee. This is an athletic fighter. Yeah, he has a solid frame on him. He's well-rounded. He has jiu-jitsu skills. I just want to continue to see him develop his wrestling. That's an aspect of his game that could really take him to another level. All right, when you're talking about BSD, on the other hand, this is a fighter that's still not 30 years old. So we can continue to see development come from him. And where you need to see that development coming is with his fight IQ. All right, I really believe that. I think that this is a fighter where his toughness, it's a little too much for his own benefit. Okay, and we've seen that dating back to the Zaleski dos Santos fight. That's really where he got put on the map, right? In his UFC debut, he took so much damage and continued to march forward. That was a crazy fight. We've seen him go out there and break fighters down with his spirit, but then when you start to match him up with the higher level fighters, you see him not only take L's, but he puts himself in really vulnerable situations where he takes a lot of damage. Of course, DP exploited him on the feet. I mean, I don't know how much you want to put him to the fire for that fight. I mean, he brought the fight, and there was a lot of asterisks next to his name going into that fight that he was on antibiotics and this and that. But the Renato Moicano fight, that was a very frustrating one, because I feel that was a fight he could have easily have taken, but he rushed to get to certain positions so fast that he put himself in position to take a lot of damage. And of course, you guys know the rest was history. They had to stop that fight. His eye took so much damage, and I could see something similar happening here where BSD just rushes to make this a brawl, and Alvarez is going to be a sniper, and he's going to be able to capitalize and land big strikes and probably gets a finish here. Okay, he probably gets some type of stoppage. He's going to have about a 6-inch reach advantage. He's 3 inches taller. He's a great athlete. Maybe BSD can have success using grappling and using his wrestling to try to get on top. Maybe we could see something like that. He does kind of use brute strength and his will to kind of get the better at times in those types of scenarios. But he does open himself up as well while he's doing that. And I just, even in that type of situation, I could see Alvarez capitalizing and having success in one way or another, even using his jiu-jitsu to reverse or pull off. Maybe he pulls off a sub. We've never seen BSD sub, but we do know that the Spaniard has those types of skills. When you think about the Darce choke that he pulled off on Marc Diakese, finally gave the UFC an opportunity to cut Diakese, one of the most boring fighters, and we just saw him get finished in devastating fashion over in the PFL, and that was a fun sight to see. But I think that Alvarez has some really tricky BJJ, and I just think that all in all, Alvarez is the side to be on here. I really do. This is a cool fight, and we'll see if BSD can kind of ground himself and look to build back up. But Alvarez opened up as a -175 over here. He's now, he touched a -190. Now he's a -185. So a little bit of action coming in on him. I like Alvarez, even with where this line's at. I like Alvarez anything from like a -210 and down, -220 might be starting to push it. Just based on the fact that if BSD slows the pace down, he is a dangerous fighter as well. You don't want to completely overlook him. I'm sure he's motivated, more motivated than ever to bounce back with a W. But Alvarez, the dude. And I think that he's going to get a finish. Calling another finish. I'm throwing out finishes left and right. We're going to hit on some of these. And that's a TKO call. I'm going to say that it's some type of TKO finish. And it could be tricky. If he hurts BSD, maybe that sub opens up. But no, I lean more towards a TKO, knockout stoppage for the Spaniard. The legend, José Aldo, returns to the octagon. He's taking on Aiemann Zahabi, of course, the brother of Faraz. Aiemann training at a TriStar gym. This is a fighter that's very much up there in age, just as Aldo is. The only difference is that Zahabi doesn't have near the mileage on him. Aldo is coming in off that very disappointing, and I say disappointing in the sense that we just didn't get to see him really showcase his striking, and he didn't get to put a show on against Mario Batista because Batista just held him against the cage. I mean, listen, let me just say this. When you're talking José Aldo, I just have to throw this out there because if you didn't know, for anyone that's tuning into the show that's new, I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, but I was a huge WEC guy. José Aldo, I think that I'll say off the top of my head, José Aldo was the greatest WEC fighter of all time. I mean, the damage that he would inflict on fighters as that promotion was closing down, as the UFC consumed it. You saw what he did to Uriah Faber. I mean, the leg kicks that he would put out there and just everything that he would do. I mean, joining the UFC, I mean, he'll land knees on you. You think about the Chad Mendes KO. I mean, he was unstoppable for the longest time. For those of you guys that are newer fans of the sport, I just highly recommend you run the tape back on Aldo and you actually understand how huge that Conor McGregor performance was, right? If you kind of are wondering, like, why are people so high on McGregor? If you understand what he was doing back then, the way he called his shot, Aldo was unstoppable. Okay, he was just running through everybody. And if you really knew who some of these guys were, like Uriah Faber was a stud back then. Okay, he was just a fighter that always came up short in those championship opportunities, but an absolute stud. Manny Gumbarian, he ran through him. Mark Hammond and Kenny Florian dropped down in weight. All right, the nasty elbow savage. Chad Mendes, Frankie Edgar, the Korean zombie, Ricardo Lamas, Chad Mendes again. Okay, and then Conor McGregor went out there, stopped him in 13 seconds. It was just epic. Okay, José Aldo, though, you know, talking about him here, I mean, he is a stud, and I actually really like this matchup for Aldo. I've seen people online saying that Aldo's manager is not really helping him out, giving him these fights where he has nothing to gain. I absolutely disagree with you guys, and I'll explain why. All right, throwing him in there with fighters like Jonathan Martinez, who he went out there and defeated, throwing him in there with a fighter like Mario Batista, us real fight fans understand that these are respectable names to an extent, right? They're not huge names in the game, but if he would have got that victory over Batista, which some people thought that he should have, right? It went to a split decision. Okay, he would have then been on a 2-fight winning streak, right? If he would have got another victory over like a fighter like Zahabi, you start to throw him, you give him big fights. And then that's what he wants, okay? Maybe he goes out there and gets knocked out, right? Like when he's fighting these high-level fighters like Petr Yan, okay, yeah, he's getting brutally finished in those types of matches, but he, you know, potentially he wants to make one more run at the title. And I know for us that really understand what we're looking at, we know he's not going to ever become the champion again, but that's what he wants to do. And then that's the aspirations of what you have going on if you're building Aldo back up. I mean, he was an elite fighter. He's not here just to play around. So you try to build a little bit of a winning streak and then give him one more big opportunity. Maybe somehow he puts it together. Obviously, he's not going to go out there and defeat a fighter like Merab or Petr Yan. He's just not going to do it, but you still want to give him an opportunity to make one last run. You don't want to just throw him in there with dangerous fighters. Maybe what some of you guys are thinking, you want to see him thrown in there with the fighter that's a little bit up in age and has more of a respectable name. But, I guess you could go that route if you want to say that. But I don't have a problem with this matchup here. Zahabi has been on quite the winning streak. All right. He's a very high fight IQ type of fighter. He's now on a 5-fight winning streak. All right. He's going to go out there and he's probably going to go out here and just do what he's going to look to try to do what he needs to do just to get his hand raised. Don't expect him to go out there and put on a show. But I don't think he's going to have enough success just holding Aldo against the cage. Aldo is the better striker here. He's going to land more damage. And especially based on what just happened in Aldo's last fight, I really believe the crowd will be going crazy, booing if Zahabi tries to pull off those types of tactics. I think the judges will they won't give it as much credit, just knowing what happened in that last fight. They're not going to give him rounds if he's just stalling. This is a great bounce back fight for Aldo to get another W and then to get a big name. I mean, Aldo is ranked right now. He's ranked 11th. Okay, so he gets a W here. Expect those big names to start coming again. And give me Jose Aldo to win a decision. I think he gets a decision victory. I don't think that he puts Zahabi out. We have seen Zahabi knocked out before. You think about the spinning back elbow that he was hit with by Ricardo Ramos. But all in all, he's pretty tough, pretty durable. He's old, but hasn't taken a lot of damage. I think that Aldo wins a decision, although I wouldn't be shocked if he lands a big strike. I mean, Aldo is nasty. He's dangerous there. But I like Jose Aldo to win a decision here on the main card. He's currently a minus 230. He opened up as a minus 175. So we're seeing quick action coming in on the legend here. And I'm kind of in agreement with the line movement. I really think this is a good opportunity for Aldo to get his hand raised. Give me Aldo to win via DEC. Big time women's flyweight action taking place here. Alexa Grasso takes on Natalia Silva. Silva looking to take her career to that next level. She gets a W here. As we talked about in the intro, she could potentially be fighting for the belt next. And we do know that belt should not be on Grasso's arm here. Excuse that. But Grasso, a great fighter. I have a little bit of a bone to pick. You guys know I was a little disgusted in the draw that happened in the fight prior to her losing to Shevchenko, right? In that final trilogy match. She should have lost both those two fights. Props to her for pulling off the submission on Shevchenko, caught her in a rear naked choke. I mean, showing the will that she had in that fight. I mean, Grasso's the real deal, right? We knew from the beginning when she made her UFC debut, we knew she was a very dangerous boxer, right? Her striking was solid, and this was a girl that we've had on her radar. She got exposed a little bit early on. If you guys remember, she was taken down, and some of the beginning losses that she would take, she would have trouble with her takedown defense. She's taken her game to a whole nother level. There's no question about that as far as her grappling goes. I mean, her whole arsenal is polished up, and that's something that you're going to want to keep an eye on here. We'll see if Grasso is going to look to potentially change levels and test Silva's grappling. And I think that Silva's pretty damn good there. I think that she's going to prove to be pretty good. She has excellent footwork, and she's not going to be easy to take advantage of there. Silva, she's the girl here. Okay, I'll tell you that. I mean, well, you could obviously Grasso's not looked at as an up and coming fighter, as a prospect. She's already held gold. Okay, but what I'm saying is that she's still a younger fighter. I'm talking about the future of this division. The light is pointing more towards Natalia Silva, who's just 28. I think that this is the girl that's going to be battling in championship bouts and looking to become a champion. We'll see who's running this division. Maybe there's someone that's in front of her that she can't get past, but this is the girl you're really talking about. I mean, yeah, Grasso can still sharpen up certain aspects of her game. She's not old, like I said. Maybe we see her make another run, but Silva's the chick here. And she comes in off the Andrade victory where she was quite dominant. That was a huge two-team parlay that I cashed on there. That was the last leg. She went out there, outstruck Andrade 119-62. She really was in control of that fight. Victories over some respectable fighters here. Okay, so some kind of overlooked fighters like Viviane Araujo, Andrea Lee, She went out there and knocked out Teresa Bleda, who is a young, tough fighter who hasn't been that active, but we know that she has capability. So you respect that victory. A victory over Jasmine, Jasudavicius, who's a fighter that we talked about earlier, she's a good fighter. Okay, she was able to go out there and get a victory over her in her debut, right? So she kind of passed that test of the grappling heavy fighter, pushing the pace on her there. You got to go all the way back to 2017 when she was just 20 years old. All right, that was her last L. She lost to Marina Rodriguez, who we know is a danger striker. And at the end of the day, Silva was just a kid. That's what it boils down to, right? She was learning as a kid, and now at 28 years old, she's already a lot more mature than people may realize. So I expect Silva to get the better of the striking exchanges because that's how high level her striking is. I think that she's a more dynamic striker. She'll be a little bit quicker out there. Grasso has her boxing skills, but Silva should get the better of those exchanges. She's not easy to touch. Take a look at the numbers here, landing 5.19 strikes per minute while only absorbing 2.35. Okay, it's a great ratio. I think that she's able to avoid getting taken down and controlled there. She's looked good there. So I do like Silva to get the job done. She opened up as a minus 190. She was right around a minus 200, and now she's kind of dipping back. All right, she's a minus 183. So we see some action coming in on Grasso. People feeling there's some value there. I'm going to kind of settle in more so being on the Silva side. Anything under minus 200. I just like her that much. I mean, you could even maybe creep up to minus 210, 220. I really like her here. I know some of you guys can try to argue that the value's in the dog in Grasso, who's a very good fighter, and we may see her unravel some new aspects of her fight game as she's still young. But give me Silva. Give me Silva to win a decision. We got gold on the line in the co-main event. Valentina Shevchenko takes on Manon Fiorot. What a great matchup this is. This is going to be a real treat. Listen, you guys know I was screaming from the rooftops for years that Shevchenko was the true GOAT of women's MMA. And I'll tell you guys what, I'm still going to sit here and say there's somewhat of a debate. I mean, a few things just don't go her way. It's just such a close argument. I thought that she defeated Amanda Nunes in both fights that they fought, specifically the last one that went to a split decision. The draw that she had against Grasso was disgusting. But obviously, when she was finished against Grasso, that wasn't a good look for her, even though she went back and got redemption. You take a look at Amanda Nunes. Amanda Nunes, don't forget, guys, okay, she got ran through by Juliana Pena, okay, not that long ago. And she did also get redemption. But Nunes took so many more losses early on in her career. She was finished by Kat Zingano, lost to Sarah Diallo, Alexis Davis, Anna Maria in her UFC debut. I mean, there was a lot of losses going on early on, and she had a good amount of victories against lower level fighters, I would say, fighting up in weight like Megan Anderson, Felicia Spencer. Okay, I mean, I could sit here and I could argue that it's just so close. It's a lot closer than a lot of you guys want to give credit to. Okay, Shevchenko has respectable victories. You run through her resume, they're respectable. And like I said, I thought that she defeated Amanda Nunes both times. So meet me in the comment section if you want. Submitted Juliana Pena when they fought, outclassed her there. I mean, so many victories. And again, the draw was nonsense. So I don't know. I hope that we get to see that fight take place one more time. Amanda Nunes has said that she's making a return to the fight game. Of course, she would be taking on, in my opinion, she'll be taking on Kayla Harrison after Kayla Harrison runs through Pena. Maybe if Shevchenko can get a victory here, maybe we see that fight take place once again. I would love to see that fight. As a hardcore fight fan, I would love to see them settle the score there. And of course, all you Nunes supporters are going to say, oh, she defeated her twice. Don't even give her an opportunity. But if you want to be realistic about it, go rerun the tape back on that last fight. I'm sorry. I don't know. Close fight, but it annoyed me there. But Shevchenko's my girl. You guys know that. Shevchenko's my old lady. And I'm going to say this. The way that she looked in that last fight, even though she's 37 now, that was a great sign for her at the what seems to be the tail end of her career, just based on her age. She came back more motivated than ever after the way they disrespected her with the draw, and after she made a mistake in that first fight and got submitted in the fourth round. She made a mistake and it cost her. Okay. This fight is going to be a different type of matchup. All right. This is different. Manon is going to look to stuff takedowns and showcase her striking abilities, which are damn good. All right. She's a dangerous striker, and her takedown defense is looking better and better. Okay. What she just did to Erin Blanchfield was nasty work. Erin just wasn't able to have any type of success getting the fight down to the mat. She had a lot of success stuffing Rose Namajunas' takedown attempts, which Rose is very underrated there. Okay, so I mean, there's a lot of signs pointing towards Mana just being very high level at keeping the fight where she's very high level, which could potentially enable her to be the champion of this division, right? No coincidence there. A very high level fighter. She's starting to get a list of respectable names on her resume. She came in what was handling lower level fighters like Victoria Leonardo, but doing what she should have done, right? Going out there and finishing them, hit her with the head kick. Once she had that victory there, we knew about her, right? She was put on her map. We knew she had the kickboxing background before she came into MMA, and she went out there and we saw she was dangerous. Knocked out Tabitha Ricci. That was Ricci's debut. I believe Ricci may have been coming up in weight. She was undersized, but still a respectable name. And I mean, listen. All right, I know I'm throwing that listen around, so you guys better listen up. Manan, she's dangerous, man. And I think that it's very realistic that she goes out here and gets the W. And I'm trying not to be biased, right? Because I'm a huge Shevchenko guy. All right, but I'm not going to hit you with the biased pick here. All right, I'm picking Valentina Shevchenko to win this fight because I think that she's the more well-rounded fighter. And even though she may not have success getting this fight down to the mat, I could still see her landing volume with kicks and scoring points here and squeaking by in a close fight. All right. And I see the numbers. The numbers are right in front of my face. Trust me, I dissect all this information. I know it's Manan that puts out a higher output, landing 4.62. But take a look at the absorption rate. It's very hard to touch Shevchenko. But when I break down tape from the recent fights, as Manan plots forward and looks to land those big strikes, I do see opportunities where I could see Shevchenko peppering her up and out-voluming her. So keep an eye on that, all right? The numbers are not exactly indicative to how this fight could play out, in my opinion. I think that it'll be Manan looking to land the more devastating strikes, the ones that were maybe you see some blood and you see like a real impact to them. But I could see Shevchenko also landing those types of strikes, but having the volume. And you know she's a nasty Muay Thai striker. It's going to be interesting here. Southpaw versus Southpaw. This is a great fight. I'm very torn on which way I want to go with it. I think that the betting line is very accurate, as it's essentially pick 'em odds. Right now, Shevchenko is a slight underdog. I'll take the reigning champion, okay? The crafty veteran, the more well-rounded fighter here. I'm going to lean towards Shevchenko's way. In a 25-minute fight, I'm going to say she does just enough to squeak by with the decision. I really like the way she adjusted in that last Grosso fight. And it's going to be a tough one, though. It's going to be a tough test because the beast, Barriault, is the real deal. All right, so I understand that. But give me Shevchenko to win this fight via decision. Give me her to win this fight via split decision. Here we go. We got the main event. Belal Muhammad's taking on Jack Della Maddalena. Right off the rip, I'll say I'm excited for this fight, but I don't know if this is what should be the matchup right now for the championship of the welterweight division, because there's other fighters that arguably deserve this position more so. I wanted to see that Shavkat Rakhmonov fight. We know he was initially matched up with Belal. The fight fell through. Now the UFC puts this together. I mean, I think you could argue that Ian Gary at this point in time, although, I mean, he was just in there, so you can't say it like that, but he is more warranted to be fighting Belal for the belt. And I'm a huge JDM fan, so don't misinterpret what I'm saying, but he's just 28 years old. He definitely has some holes in his game that I want to see him sharpen up, and I just hope that he's not getting this opportunity a little bit too soon. It wouldn't be the end of the world if that's the case. I mean, he has plenty of time to continue to sharpen up and start another winning streak, but doesn't have a lot of big names on his resume, but the way he goes out and gets the victory, it's so exciting. He's a fight finisher. I mean, you give him credit there, but even in the Gilbert Burns fight that he just had, he eventually got that finish, but he struggled a lot throughout that fight with his takedown defense. Gilbert Burns controlled him for over an entire round, 5 minutes and 7 seconds. He was 7 of 11 on takedowns. And I mean, you got to give JDM credit, though, for continuously trying to work back up to his feet and land damage. I want to say credit. I'm a huge JDM fan, but Muhammad, he has this fighting style where he's just going to continuously press you, and he's going to continuously look to grind you out. And he was able to do it against Leon Edwards, Gilbert Burns, Sean Brady, Vicente Luque. I mean, he's been grinding all these dudes down. You could say there's a little bit of an asterisk next to some of these guys' names, right? Like Gilbert Burns. And in fact, in that fight, he actually fought from the outside a little bit more so, but Gilbert Burns was damaged, right? He hurt his shoulder there. Burns very much up in age. Vicente Luque, that's a fighter that's had major issues, right? Especially around that time. I mean, there's some things going on with him. He's taken a lot of damage. But the Sean Brady performance, that's what really put a stamp on it that, no, Muhammad is the real deal. And also, if you look at what Sean Brady just did to Leon Edwards, you got to give credit to Muhammad first and foremost. He's the fighter that went out there and really opened the floodgates to fight that type of tactic and just take Edwards out like that. Okay, Sean Brady just kind of replicated that. So, I mean, I put a lot of stock into the grappling and the cardio of Belal Muhammad. If you guys have seen some of the work that Jack Della Maddalena has been doing with his jiu-jitsu, we recently saw this viral video where he put Craig Jones to sleep. Caught him with some kind of Darce choke here. I'll just say this. I mean, that's cool. I don't know how much merit I put into that. And I kind of also have other questions about it too. It's like, I mean, not that this is completely out of the realm, but like Craig Jones is accepting the invite on this video. He's sharing it. I don't know if they're just trying to give JDM confidence going into this bout, but even if it was completely legit, I mean, I don't want JDM relying on these type of tactics much. Sure, if Belal enters in sloppy fashion and puts his neck out there, yeah, try to grab a Darce choke. But I mean, good luck with that. He's never been submitted, and I don't see Jack Della Maddalena being the first fighter to ever submit him. He only has 2 subs to his name thus far. What I want to see JDM doing in this fight is doing anything he can do to create space and distance and work his striking from the outside. He needs to look to land major damage in this fight. He has to hurt Belal. Okay, even if he doesn't get a knockout, he needs to weather him by landing big shots. I want to see him work in the body, but of course also looking to get the stoppage. I mean, a lot of his victories come by way of stoppage. I mean, that's what he really should look to do. And if you take a look at Muhammad's second to last loss, it was against Vicente Luque when he was finished up in the first round and he was pieced up. He was hurt badly, right? He got finished up with punches there. But besides that, his other 2 losses, his other 2 losses do come by way of decision, right? Against Alan Joban and against Jeff Neal. It was so, I mean, Belal Muhammad, man, he blocked me on Instagram. Okay, so I could tell you what I think about him. I mean, I really, he's gained some of my respect though. Even though he blocked me, I was teasing him a little bit, but years ago he blocked me. I mean, you got to respect his fight game, and I respect the work that he's done. He's an elite fighter, and I think that I got to be on the Belal side here. Okay, I want Jack Della Maddalena to win this fight, but you got to trust that Muhammad is just going to continuously pressure and he's going to get takedowns. And I think that it's not even unrealistic that he could set up maybe like a submission if Jack gets very desperate and gives up his back. Although I'll say Belal wins via decision. That's what I'm settling in here with. And before I get to the odds, I'm thinking of other things I could say. I mean, there's rumors of big fights coming up down the line for Belal. If Makhachev is going to come up and wait, I guess they're not training together anymore. I think there were some rumors they had followed each other or whatnot. And we could see Muhammad in some really big fights. And Belal Muhammad, if you remember when he came into the UFC, he didn't have like one major discipline. This wasn't a collegiate wrestler or a high-level kickboxer or a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, right? This was a dude that I really wouldn't have thought would have pushed it this far. So this kind of just showcases when you have a fighter that has great will and he's very disciplined, how far they could push it. I would even say he's not even the best athlete. All right. So for anyone out there that's aspiring to be a fighter, this is maybe a guy you want to take a look at, right? You get an elite athlete that has this type of mindset, kicks off his UFC career, losing to Alan Joban. I think that was a close fight too, if I remember. I remember him fighting on like the undercard of, it was against Eddie Alvarez and Conor McGregor. He got knocked out by Vicente Luque. That was that fight we just talked about. But, he's been on some major fight cards as he kicked his career off, went through adversity. And at the end of the day, he put it all together. Okay, he did. And he reached the pinnacle of the sport. And you guys know, I'm not going to go against Belal here. I want Jack Della Maddalena to win this fight. Okay, I want JDM to win this fight. But although some of you guys don't believe it at times, you guys think some of my picks are biased, I really try to never have that be the case. All right. And not only do I think Belal's going to get the job done here, I think it's possible he can get a sub. I will officially pick decision, but I also think that even with him being a -240 favorite over a danger striker like JDM, I think that line is accurate. I think he's deserving of being like a 2.5 to 1 favorite in this fight. And I wouldn't be shocked if he creeps up to like a minus 280, 290. And even then it wouldn't I wouldn't say that line's way off. I mean, that's how much credit I give to what Belal's been doing in the cage, and dude's a freak. All right, guys, that's going to wrap this one up. I appreciate you for tuning in. Don't forget, guys, if you want to work with me, reach out to me. I'll give you further information. As I always say, go follow me and all that stuff, and like this video, subscribe. I got to say it, right? Because I get it. I'm a YouTuber too, and sometimes some of my favorite shows I watch, or if I tune in regularly, I forget to do it, but it really does help me a lot, guys. So if you could do that, and you guys know I got to hit you with some parting words, and just anytime I can get a chance to grab a couple of ears and try to spit some wisdom, maybe it can help someone out there, I'll do it. I'm trying to think of something we could talk about here, and I'll go with this. It's kind of like a cliche thing, but it's definitely true. As you get older, this is very important for you youngsters out there. Don't get caught up with looking down at your final destination, or your destination that you want to get to, and without realizing that you need to enjoy the process. I mean, that is as true as you guys can imagine. All right. So for any of you guys, think about like you college kids, you dudes in your young 20s that are like, I got to do this. I want to do this so badly. You better make sure that you're enjoying the process of getting there, especially in that age frame. Those are your prime years, and life is an amazing time around then. So you better be enjoying it, and you better be realizing that those are the golden years. That's the golden time. So make sure you don't just grind too much. You don't work too hard. Make sure you enjoy yourself. Make sure you have a healthy balance of partying or hanging out with friends, and then getting to work and getting on your grind and having your goal in mind. Okay, guys, seriously think about that. All right. So I'll leave you guys with that, and really nothing else I think to be said here at this point in time. What else can we say, boys? Wish you all a great week. Wish you a profitable event. Signing out. Teller.
The teller.